Thanks for joining us. And today we're going to talk about how many Kriyas does it take to attain Samadhi. So in case those of you who are unfamiliar with this subject, Kriyas is a particular type of meditation technique, a pranayama technique, basically using breath and movement of the inner life force to create changes within one's energetic architecture. And for those of you who do Kriya yoga, you know exactly what I'm talking about. And then what is Samadhi? So Samadhi is often described as sort of a superconscious state, a state of becoming one with more than just the regular perceptions of daily life. You know, oneness with God, oneness with everything, and so on. In some cases, some people believe that Samadhi and enlightenment are the same thing, and that nirvana is sort of a state of Samadhi as well. So anyway, these are just descriptions around some sort of expanded state of consciousness, which is beyond just the bodily sensations. And so in Kriya Yoga circles, people often talk about the attaining Samadhi, attaining this superconscious state, as if Samadhi is something to be attained. And some people have said that you need to do a certain number of Kriya pranayama to be able to get to a state of Samadhi. So some folks have said, 1 million Kriyas, and you will sever, the chain to the cycle of rebirth and death, and that you will be enlightened, or reach the nirvikalpa samadhi, this incredible state of superconsciousness where your superconscious state never ends and you're always one with God, these kind of things. So these ideas, but the idea about attaining Samadhi and a certain number of pranayama techniques or Kriya techniques to get there is a bit misguided. So the idea about 1 million Kriya or however Kriya to attain Samadhi is very much a linear calculation. You put in X number of Kriyas and you get this particular result, as if it's a cake that you're making with all the right ingredients, and at the end of it, with the Kriya recipe, you get the cake of Samadhi, right? But things are not that simple at all. That is a gross oversimplification of the actual process that happens for you get into a state of internal absorption and some awakening and expansion of consciousness. It's not about the number of Kriya at all. Although Yogananda talked about 1 million Kriya and so on in his book Autobiography of a Yogi, when he was actually asked by some of his disciples, I think there was one who said, like, I did 1,000 Kriya in this one day, and they were all proud of themselves, and he basically turned around and said, well, yeah, but like, it's not about the number of Kriya. Basically, you could get the same result as you're experiencing right now by doing like 10, right? So a much less amount. And the whole point behind that was that it's not about the number of Kriya, it's not about the number of pranayama or what techniques you do. It's really about the inner transformation that happens as a result of a process that you are doing. So if it's Kriya yoga, you're doing this pranayama technique and moving this life force, this energy up and down your spine. And as a result, you're awakening certain centers, you're getting this internalization, this pratyahara. If you get to a state where you get sort of this kind of stillness of breath, which is properly called the tranquil breath, a very sort of lowered kind of idle of breath, you will get into a very deep state, right? But it's not about the number of Kriya, it's about the whole process that unfolds within you. Because there are some people who take to meditation techniques like Kriya Yoga very, very well, and they become very quickly internalized by doing the technique very quickly. Now, they're not doing, whatever it is, 1,000 Kriya a day, right? Where there may be somebody who's doing 1,000 Kriya a day and they're not getting that internalization and that expansion of consciousness that they're craving, right? So it's not about the Kriya, it's about the internal process that happens to allow the changes in you. And then as a result, the expanded states of consciousness come from the internal change. So that's why I say, don't try to attain something. You don't want to attain Samadhi. You're not trying to attain it like you're buying a house or purchasing a car. What you want is internal transformation, right? And the Kriya Yoga can help with some of that for sure, but it doesn't take us far enough. And with Kriya Yoga, the real benefit of Kriya Yoga is that you can get that pratyahara, that internalization, and you can go towards the tranquil breath, which is often erroneously called the breathless state. It's very still breath. And from there, if you're able to open up inside, you will go into deeper states like samadhi, right? Absorption and samadhi. But if you aren't opening yourself up and there isn't internal transformation, you can just be sitting in this very still kind of a void state with nothing happening at all. And I have talked to lots of people who they get exactly there with Kriya Yoga techniques, and they're like, I'm in the void, I don't feel my body, and I'm just sort of sitting in blackness. Well, yeah, you got internalized. Isn't it inner transformation that's happening that creates that expanded states of consciousness? So basically, it's like you have a veil or you're in a black room, right? And you're just sort of sitting there. So it's not the number of Kriya, right? But if there's an internal change while you are in that state, you will go into those deeper states of bliss, right? But you need that internal transformation to happen. So, you know, on the Kriya Yoga side, lots of people have had, you know, different theories about how you get, you know, beyond sort of being in the deep pratyahara and dharana stage, the sort of, you know, internalization and sort of concentration, being in the void, that kind of stuff, how they can get beyond it. So I've seen lots of people make suggestions. But the best stuff that I've seen for making that transition happen really comes from Taoist internal alchemy. One of the first things that we teach at Modern Kriya, right, in addition to Kriya techniques, is the inner smile, right? The inner smile is often seen as this sort of simplistic, you know, meditation practice that really doesn't do anything. You're just smiling inside and feeling and opening yourself up, kind of thing, right? And people are like, well, I'm just smiling, but how would that help? It makes a huge difference. But it is really about self-acceptance. And the reason for this is because everything that we are inside, our body, right, all the energetic architecture and stuff like that is there. If you do not tune in with that and accept it, good luck trying to make any kind of internal transformation changes with it. Every time that you repress what you're feeling, right, pushing it down, wanting it to be something else, you basically keep those energetic patterns as they are, status quo. Hence, you're basically saying, I don't want any changes now. And if you don't have internal changes, you're not going to get expanded states of consciousness, regardless of how many Kriyas you do. So you could be doing 1,000 Kriyas a day, but if what you are repressing inside, you don't basically accept it and allow it to change, you will not get an expanded state of consciousness. So that is often a block for so many people. And the inner smile is the simplest, the easiest way I know to get past that block, right? Because it's really about tuning in with what you're experiencing at this present moment, smiling into it, accepting it fully. And when you can start to feel it energetically, you can sense it energetically, and you start to accept it, it starts to shift, it starts to remold itself and open up. And as a result, you get these resolutions inside. And as a result, you get expanded states of consciousness. So if you're doing Kriya Yoga and you're in the tranquil breath and you're sitting in the void going, nothing's happening, try the inner smile, right? It will take you into bliss. It is like stepping in. Once you add Kriya Yoga and you get the inner smile and you're able to do it competently, you can smile your way to samadhi, okay? So, you know, if you're only interested in Kriya Yoga, that alone can take you there. If you have the good foundations in Kriya Yoga and you're doing it properly, right? It can take you, this inner smile can take you beyond that sort of sitting in the void, I'm stuck here, to going into samadhi, right? But that's not all, right? Because samadhi is really just an expanded state of consciousness based on internal transformation. We want full internal transformation, and that's why at Modern Kriya we use all the Taoist internal alchemy techniques and practices to help facilitate the transformation from day one. So that's why I teach the inner smile right away, and I say, you know, get some competence with it, play with it, feel inside. When you can do the inner smile, you can start to add it and integrate it into all the other practices you're doing. So if you're wondering what the inner smile is, we have another video on our YouTube channel about the inner smile. So it goes through a basic process of smiling into all the different body organs and that kind of thing. But really it's about developing the skill for the inner smile, because once you apply your inner smile skill inside on anything that's stuck, it will start to open up, right? Regardless regardless of whether or not you're doing meditation practice, or you're sitting, you know, having an interaction with somebody, or you're dealing with difficult emotional stuff, or you're driving and you're feeling frustrated, the inner smile, if you develop the skill and apply it, it will transform your energy from the inside out. That is exactly what is needed. Now, that's just the first step in Taoist internal alchemy. We have a whole bunch of other techniques that we teach in Modern Kriya, like the 6 healing sounds, the microcosmic orbit, fusion of the 5 elements, and so on, where it builds on that, right? Once you mix Taoist internal alchemy fundamentals and practices with Kriya yoga, you get an extremely transformative set of energetic practices that allow you to go inside very deeply and to have internal transformation, and you're going to get all the things that you need, that you really want in any spiritual path, which is internal transformation, expanded states of consciousness, progression, an ability to have causal effect in your life for the better, right? So all of these things are available, right? So when people, you know, just believe you can just do Kriya yoga, you know, till you're blue in the face and get into Samadhi, I know from experience that that's not the case. There's something else that needs to be there. So the missing ingredient from my perspective and our perspective at Modern Kriya is this Taoist internal alchemy practices, which are so complementary with Kriya yoga that it's just a no-brainer. And in a way, it's like making Kriya complete, because there are some definite gaps, right? And these address those gaps. So I urge you to check that out. You know, if you want to learn more about these techniques, right, of Taoist internal alchemy and Kriya yoga, I have a members section in our website where you can sign up. It's like $9.99 a month, or you get a discount if you sign up for a year, and you get access to all of these incredible transformative practices that will basically, it will zip by anything that you've ever practiced before, right? Because you are starting from the ground up, and you have the most powerful techniques for this inner transformation. So check it out. So if you have any questions about this video, feel free to send me an email at info@modernkriya.com. Also check our website at modernkriya.com and our YouTube channel. So thanks for joining us, and we will see you next time.